Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Already we're live. That's it. As you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be working on more game logic in Unreal Engine 5 using C++. When I say game logic, I mean like enemy logic that I did work on last stream where I made an NPC actually follow me around. It did kind of similar like in Roblox's pet chasing the player type stuff. That's let's go to my gameplay screen. There we go. Okay, and guys, this is like the chat from last stream, and I did try using Claude last stream because many of you guys did send me to actually try Claude. Okay, that's it. Let's see something like, say, I'm live exclamation. Guys, Claude does not have my prompt whatsoever. Okay, let's say I'm live, and today I want to add some sort of functionality to my. Actually, let's go with something like I'm live, and today I am going to, let's go with something like going to practice the code that we worked on yesterday. So technically yesterday we did like work on a code where the NPC moves me around. Before I had some other logic, I want to try moving it on my own and understanding what goes in it. That's it. Since it's hyped, you're going live. That's awesome. Your stream viewers are going to see some real AI programming. Quick stream demo ideas. Okay, show off boss AI, spotty boss, press B, blah blah. Okay, I'm gonna honestly do all that in like a new project. This is like my Unreal's project from like last stream. The only thing I want to check is my build.cs that had my AI module and navigation systems added here. Okay, I mean, I guess I could go with a new file. I'm gonna go ahead and exit this. Let's go ahead and open my Unreal Engine real quick. Okay, honestly, before I really open Unreal Engine, I mean, it's on progress for opening. Let's say something like say, I am starting a brand new project, and guys, I might just copy and paste the movement code. For example, like me moving my player using enhanced inputs because I really know how to like code that part. Let's go with the project. Can I get a instruction based question, which is actually, can I get an instruction based prompt as to how I can actually make the, let's say something like player, actually enemy logic code, not make the, actually write the enemy logic code, dot dot dot. For example, yesterday we worked on me summoning uh, a boss by clicking B, and then that boss follows me. I had enhanced inputs for player movements, etc. Dot dot dot. Can you tell me what to do like that in steps? Hold up, guys, that was awful at actually phrasing that. Okay, I guess Gemini's thinking it's okay. Since it's complete enemy AI tutorial from zero to scratch. Here's your step-by-step roadmap to create everything from scratch. Phase 1, project setup, the foundation. Step 1, create the new project, open Unreal Engine 5, create project, or I gotta create a new project, go with game's third-person template. I mean, I honestly don't really want a third-person template. Let me say something like, say, let me just go up here. Let's go with something like, with an empty C++ project. There we go. Let's go with an empty C++ project. Okay, wait, doesn't it change that self actually editing this part? And then I want to hit enter and send it. And then maybe I refresh this. Okay, does the prompt really change if I refresh it? Or do I really need to type it all up? Oh, there's no way I gotta type that whole thing. Alright guys, I'm not typing that whole thing up. Again, I'm just gonna go to my Unreal Engine that kind of loaded up here. I'm gonna go with a new project, and then I'll go with a blank project. Let's go ahead and call this something like dodge the boss. Okay, oh wait, let's go with something like dodge the enemy. Let's go with something like dodge the enemy. Okay, so that is going to be the project name. Then I'm going to go ahead and create a project. Now let's go ahead and just grab this here, and I might actually, I'll actually see. It kind of depends on my mood that I might really, what you call it, I forgot what I wanted to phrase. I might copy the code where I actually add enhanced inputs because it's really easy to add enhanced inputs and movement, but it takes like, I don't know, maybe like 40 minutes for me to really write that stuff. I don't want to like waste that time up here. So I might just copy that part. So let's go ahead and open this. Now I'm gonna go to something like file and then let's go to new level. I'm gonna create a basic level. Okay, and then once I'm done creating the basic level, I'm gonna open my content drawer. I'm gonna go to my contents section, right click, create a folder called it's something like let's go with inputs, because this is going to be my inputs folder. And then let me go ahead and drag my 3 input folders up here. Wait, hold up guys, not inputs. Actually, yeah, input is one correct thing. I'm gonna go ahead and drag these. Let's go ahead and import, apply to all, hit yes, there we go. Okay, these are a few basic meshes that I made in Blender that tomorrow, it really depends. I might have a workout stream or like a Blender stream or like Genshin or Wuthering wave stream type stuff. You guys know what I mean. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done with all this, let's see. What is something else that I might need? I'm gonna double click my inputs, right click, and create a few basic input actions that I might need. So I'm gonna go with something like an input action. This is gonna be called something like IA underscore move. This is gonna be my move action used for my player to go ahead and move around. I'm gonna add another action input. This is gonna be for something like IA underscore look. This is basically my look action used for me to make my player rotate and like turn around type stuff, if that makes any sense, guys. Alright, let's go ahead and delete this real quick. So there we go. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and delete this, right click, go with something like action input. And this is what I mean, guys, by saying this is kind of tedious because I already know how to like program this part. Okay, and then I'm gonna go with something like IA underscore RMB. The only time I really want to turn my player around or like rotate him or like make him look towards the left or right is when I click my right mouse button. In the other hand, if I'm not clicking my right mouse button, then I want my mouse to be kind of freely moving around, if that makes any sense. And then I'm gonna go with another action input. What all would I need? What does action foliage mean? Okay, let's see. So this time, what else would I need? I have move, I have look, I have RMB. Maybe I want to add a summoning action. For that, I might go with something like IA underscore summon. Every time I click B on my keyboard, I want to go ahead and summon a boss that's going to be chasing me around or doing some kind of logic. And then I'm going to go with another action input. Is there anything else that I might need? Honestly, I don't think there's anything else that I might need. This might be pretty much it, guys. Hold up, let me really get this and meet myself real quick. Already mic testing. Guys, just ignore the background noises. I thought there was some kind of background noises going on. Maybe let me go ahead and just decrease my OBS's font real quick. Seriously, I can't decrease it any more than this. Okay, I guess I'm going to decrease the height. I cannot decrease the height as well. Okay, I guess I'll just get it here because there's like background noises. Let me know if you guys say something in the chat because it's hard to see the chat while monitoring my OBS. Okay, that's it. Let me just go ahead and get this back up here. Just give that somewhere here. There we go. Okay, and then the left side, that's gonna be there. And then let's grab my OBS back up here. Okay, I think that's good. I think that this is basically everything that I need. Let me go ahead and add something like a input mapping context. I'm gonna go with something like an input mapping context. This is basically going to be my IMC underscore default. Now, the purpose of input mapping context is to add mappings, add like links between my Visual Studio and my Unreal Engine. So, for example, if my IA underscore move has been activated, I click WAS or D in my keyboard. I want to go ahead and do some sort of move action. If that made any sense, guys. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and click plus here, and then let's go ahead and add a mapping. Now, this is going to be for my IA underscore move. So I'm going to be adding a bunch of move actions. I want to move using, let's say, 4 inputs. Let's go with something like W, A, S, and D. I want to move using W, A, S, and D. Now, when I click W, I want to go ahead and move forward in the Y-axis. And if we actually move in the Y-axis, we gotta add a modifier called the Swiss input axis value that basically gives us access to move in the Y-axis. Because the default is like the x-axis, if that made any sense. Now, next up for, this is A, right? W-A-S-D. I think it's W-S. This should have been S. That should have been A and D. There we go. Okay, now for S, I want to go ahead and move backwards in the y-axis. So, since I am working with the y-axis, I'll have to go ahead and add a Swiss input axis value. Although, with just Swiss input axis value, I'm going to move in the exact same direction as where my Y was moving. So I gotta go ahead and add another modifier called negate that basically means negative. I want to move in the y-axis in a negative direction. W is going to be moving in the y-axis on a positive direction. If that made any sense. Hold up guys, let me check if I got any chats. There we go. Okay, and the next up for A, basically what A means I want to move towards the left. Since I want to move towards the left, I'm gonna go ahead and add a modifier called negate because I wouldn't need to actually add a specific modifier that tells me to move in the x-axis because by default I do move in the x-axis. Negate is just negative. In the other hand, my D is going to be moving towards the right, which is positive x-axis, so I won't need any modifiers for it. And I think that's pretty much it for my IA underscore move. Hey, hello, have you tried VLang already? I have not tried VLang. I actually might try it soon. Like, I feel like Gunhausen, is that how I pronounce your name? You have been like asking me to try VLang for like a long time. I might actually try it soon though. The thing is, I'm trying to like master Unreal Engine so I could actually get ready for my 250-day series. Like the ending, I think it's in about like, I think 100-ish more days type stuff. That said, once I'm done with this mapping, I'm gonna add another mapping. My second mapping is gonna be for my IA underscore look. Basically, my players' look action, in which I want to go ahead and look towards the left or towards the right, depending or based on where my mouse moves in the x-axis, because left right is like x-axis. And I want to go ahead and look forward or backwards depending on where my mouse moves in the y-axis. And I think that's pretty much it. Hold up guys, let me just go ahead and wrap that up here. There we go. Gotta make sure that no background noise comes. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and click the plus again for my mapping. Now, in my mapping, I'm done with IA underscore move, I'm done with IA underscore look. I just have IA underscore RMB and IA underscore summer left. For my IA underscore RMB, I'm going to go ahead and set that to be my right mouse button. That's just basically pretty much it for this. Lastly, for my IA underscore summon, I want to go ahead and summon when my user clicks B on the keyboard. So I'm going to go with something like B. And that's about it. That's pretty much it for my inputs. Already mic testing, mic testing. Alright guys, we're just checking there were any background noises. Okay, can't wait for you to try it. You will love it. By the way, you have a beautiful smile. Honestly, it does sound kind of cool. I appreciate you, Kanazas. Guys, I feel like I so rarely get that, but it feels so nice when I actually get a compliment. People actually compliment my smile and stuff. But that's once I'm done with this, I'm gonna let's say go ahead and now create a new class. Let's say I'm gonna go ahead and create a character class and call it something like he's gonna be summoning boss. So I'm gonna go with Necromancer. I want to keep an easy name. Hold up, guys. Give me an easy name. I might go with something like Tom. Okay, that's pretty easy because later on when I'm trying to actually create function, I gotta type a Necromancer using a scope resolution operator. I want to point towards, for example, move function, look function, or a certain name, a certain function name. Tom might be pretty easy. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and add code to project. This is gonna open my Visual Studio. So let's wait for my Visual Studio to open real quick, and then let's just go ahead and check if I had a chat here. There we go. Let's go back here. There. Okay, so a project now includes sources. Please close the editor and build from your IDE. Okay, I guess I could do it. There we go. Please close your editor. Firstly, before you really do close this stuff, make sure to go to your content drawer and save everything. Because there are like so many times that I forgot to save stuff. Alright guys, everything's kind of loading. Because there's like times when I forgot to close stuff. Anyways, I'll come back next stream and check the Victoria's VLang status. Have a nice day. Honestly, I appreciate your stream, but I'll catch you next stream. Okay, that's it. Now, before I really close my editor, I'm gonna hit save all because there are like so many countless times that I did not really save my stuff. I gotta make sure and save them all. And then I'm gonna hit Control S to save the code. This is gonna be called something like map. Guys, there we go. Let's just go ahead and call this something like map. I think I kind of spelled it wrong. There. And I'm gonna save it in my content. Yeah, I think content might be good. Now, let's go ahead and close my Unreal Engine. Exit that. And I'm gonna go ahead and build my project through Unreal Engine. That should be it. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and let's say add a few attributes. And remember when I said that I'm gonna be adding my movement launcher, I'm just gonna copy and paste the code. I might type it just for some practice because I do still need some practice. Okay, that's it. Let's just go ahead and grab this up here, making sure there is no background noises. Okay, so it's apparently still building, or is it done building? I think it still has some more to build. Okay, so it says build started, blah blah. Okay, I mean, it shouldn't take that long to build. Okay, while it's building, so since I'm gonna be adding my movement logic, I'm gonna go to my, let's say, header file for my Tom. I'm gonna go to my Tom.header file, and let's say create or declare a few empty classes. For example, I'm gonna go with a class. There we go. It's done building. 49.30 seconds. Okay, I guess since it's done building, I can just go ahead and send this, right? There. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and declare a few classes. For example, firstly, I want to go ahead and declare a class called something like I don't know, guys. What class should I have? I want my character to have a camera component, so I'm gonna go with something like a new camera component. Now, here's the thing. Instead of really declaring the class, I could just go ahead and include its header files and get it over with. But the reason I don't do that is because the header files, the tom.h, the tom's header files is meant, or header files in general, is meant for declaration because the compiler firstly quickly skims through the header files to check what all exists in our program. Then later it moves on to our C++ file and kind of scans through those as well to see if the header files that I declared, since the header files that I declared, or the empty files that I declared in my tom.h, has it been defined? If it has been defined, it goes ahead and executes that through the C++. So the C++ file is supposed to be heavy. The header file is supposed to be light. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and create another class. This time, I'm going to go with something like a use spring arm component because I do want my camera to be attached to a spring arm type stuff. Let's go with spring arm components. There we go. Ending with a semicolon. And then what else would I need? I might need another class for my input actions because I do like have a bunch of input actions. So I'm going to go with something like a u input action. Let's go with something like action ending with a semicolon. And then let's see, since I have input actions, I might need my input mapping context as well because I did like create input mapping context. So I'm going to go with something like a u input mapping context. There we go. Okay, now once I'm done with adding my input mapping context as well, is there something else that I want to declare? Maybe when my player actually clicks WASRD, the value that he gets when he clicks those inputs, I might want to go ahead and declare that as well. But unlike the rest, that is not going to be a class. It's going to be a structure. So I'm going to go ahead and create a structure for, let's say, my F. F does stand for structure type stuff. I'm going to go with something like input action value. Is the value positive one or negative one when I either move forward, backwards, left, or right? If that made any sense, guys. It does sound kind of tricky, but it's actually kind of easy once we get a pretty good grasp of it. So let me just go all the way up here. Okay, bro, when will you start learning web like React, TypeScript, and other frameworks with JavaScript? Actually, I did want to try JavaScript. Maybe after this series, I'm going to be having a program where I work on, spoilers alert, guys, I work on making a chatbot type stuff. So then I might really try some of these, but then I was saving JavaScript and all that things for when I was going to be making a website, if that makes any sense. Okay, that's it. Hold up, guys. Let me mute myself real quick. Already mic testing, mic testing. Alright, guys, just gotta make sure there's no background noises. That's it. Now, to actually add movement for my player, what is a few things that I might need? Firstly, a thing that I might need is inside of the protected data type, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like camera boom, which is basically my follow camera. I'm gonna create a U property because whenever we wanna actually add something to our Unreal Engine, it is like very important to create a U property because without it, I would not be able to see that stuff inside my details panel, so it will not be registered inside my Unreal Engine, if that makes any sense. So I'm gonna go with the U property where I want my camera boom to be visible anywhere. There we go. And in case you guys didn't know what a camera boom is, if you guys are like familiar with like the film industry and all that stuff, they use it as a massive selfie stick that has a camera attached to it type stuff. Could be something like a webcam, I don't know. Okay, and then once I'm done with the adding my first parameter, what else do I want my camera boom to be? I might want my blueprint to be able to read my camera boom, but I want it to only read it. So I'm gonna go with something like blueprint read only. The reason I like go with blueprint read only is because I'm not gonna really add any kind of changes to my camera boom through my blueprint. Everything's gonna be done through my Visual Studio. Okay, I'm pretty sure if I was gonna be editing this through my blueprint, I would have gone with blueprint read and write, if that makes any sense. Okay, that's it. Lastly, I'm gonna go ahead and categorize it using my category I'm gonna set it equal to, let's go with something like camera. And then once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and copy my use spring arm component, because again, recalling that camera boom is my spring arm. I'm gonna paste my empty class here and represent it using a pointer called something like camera boom. And then I end this with a semicolon. Now let me just quickly check. Smelly, oh god, Smelly Eye is kind of crazy. Let me check if I got any of their chats. There we go. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done adding my camera boom, I'm gonna go ahead and add another comment that says something like follow camera. Now, follow camera is basically gonna be my actual camera component. The reason I didn't name it something like follow camera is because hypothetically my camera is gonna be stuck to my actual spring arm, but actually it's not stuck to my spring arm. It's gonna be like let's say following my spring arm, because I'm gonna be later on adding my roots to my follow camera. So I did not like actually stick it, but I made it a child of my spring arm component, so they're going to be kind of attached together. For that, I'm going to go ahead and add a U property. Okay, where I want my follow camera to be visible anywhere, just like my camera boom. Let's go with visible anywhere. I can see it anywhere, whether it be on my editor, my blueprint, or my details panel. And then I want it to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read it, not edit it. Lastly, I'm going to categorize it in a section called something like camera. And now, category is not like compulsory for getting my code to work, but then it does keep the code organized, because eventually when I get like a lot of like 1,000 lines of code and all that stuff, maybe 5,000 lines as well, I would really need categories, because I would search like camera and I'm going to see all the camera content type stuff, if that makes sense. Alrighty, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and add another comment. This time, I'm gonna go ahead and add a bunch of new properties for the bunch of input action that I had, which I did have 4 in total. It's the move action, look action, RMB action, and summon action. So, firstly, I'm gonna go with move action. Let's add a comment that says something like move action. For my move action, I'm gonna create a U property again, where this time, instead of being visible anywhere, I'm gonna set my move action to be, let's say edit anywhere, because I am gonna later on be editing it through my details panel in my Unreal Engine. So I'm gonna go with something like edit anywhere, and then I want my blueprint or my move action to be blueprint read only. Only want my blueprint to be able to read it, because I'm not really coding through blueprints type stuff. Lastly, my category, I'm going to go ahead and categorize it / organize it in my cameras section, or my cameras category. And then, wait, did I just forget to add a camera component there? Alright guys, for my follow camera, I'm going to go ahead and let's say paste my U camera components, which is going to be represented by follow cameras as pointer. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Now, I'm going to copy my U input action, paste that here, and represent my U input action by a pointer called something like move action, ending with a semicolon. And guys, the name here could again be anything, it really depends. Okay, let's go with something like follow camera. I think I spelled that wrong. There. Okay, then I'm going to hit insert. Okay, and hold on guys, let me check if I got any more chats. Let's go here, go to the horizontal. Okay, probably not. Next up, once I'm done with my move action, is there anything else that I need? I might need one for my look action as well, because if you guys do remember me creating those bunch of input action, I had a look action, which is going to be in charge of my player either looking towards the left or towards the right based on where my mouse moves, either in the x-axis or the y-axis. So I'm going to go with something like a U property here. Okay, and then I'm going to add a parameter. Let's say I want my U property to be something like edit anywhere. I want to edit my look action anywhere. I want it to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read this stuff. Lastly, I want my category, let's go with something like category, to be equal to something like input. And I do not know why did I go with camera here. Alright guys, that's going to be input as well, because this is a whole separate category from anything related to my camera. Okay, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and paste my U input action here again, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like look action. You guys basically get the gist of what's happening here. It's like I'm creating a bunch of pointers, because later on I will be using these pointers to do certain things. Okay, and then once I'm done with my look action as well, I have another input action called something like RMB action, my right mouse button action, in which again I'm going to be needing a U property that is going to be edit anywhere. Going to go ahead, I want to be able to edit that anywhere. I want it to be blueprint read only. Only want my blueprint to be able to read it, not really edit it. lastly, my category, okay, is going to be equal to something like inputs. And that's like pretty much it. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and let's say paste my uInput action, which is going to be represented by pointer, called something like RMB action. Okay, and then lastly, once I'm done with those, I'm going to create another action called something like summon action. Because in case, again, if you guys do like recall, I did like have a summon action in which, again, I'm going to be needing a new property. And guys, this is like the most tedious stuff in my opinion. Property, where you gotta add like a bunch of new properties. I mean, I won't say it's as tedious if you add it like one at a time by solving each problem at a time, or if you have an algorithm just following the algorithm. But then it's like, it kind of gets tedious when you write it a lot just for practice. Okay, let's go with something like read only, and this is where I would like prefer, or like this is where I'd say like copying code from AI would be let's say appropriate, because if I copy code that I don't really understand, then that means there's no learning happening there. But I feel like this part is like pretty easy, that I know how to write it, like even if I'm kind of distracted. So I feel like copying the code here would save time. That's the most precious thing up here. I don't even know am I really writing this thing. Okay, I'm gonna go with something like summon action. There we go. Okay, and let me just check if I got any checks real quick. I'll frame this with a semicolon. Okay, hiding side of physics, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, then let's hop onto that horizontal. How to say consistent like you? Honestly, I'd say like just by showing up, because like it's all about expanding your anterior mid-singular cortex, which is technically the willpower in your brains. The more you do stuff that you hate to do, the better you get, or the easier that stuff feels. Because guys, it literally, like when we do things we don't like to, the anterior mid-singular cortex, it literally like expands, and we do, and if we like get lazy or like do things that's not really out of our comfort zone, it actually shrinks. Like in our brain, the part really gets smaller and bigger. Okay, that said, once we're done with adding all these new properties and actions, I'm gonna go ahead and add another comment that says something like Boolean functions. Let's go with something like Boolean checks first, in which I want to go ahead and add a Boolean state that checks if either or not my RMB, my right mouse button, is being pressed, and either or not my B on my keyboard is being pressed or not. Because I'm going to click B to actually summon my object or summon my actor on my window. Okay, that said, let me go ahead and firstly create a Boolean variable called something like RMB underscore pressed. This checks if my RMB is being pressed. Initially, I'm gonna set it to be something like false, because when my program starts, I don't really want my RMB to be pressed. And then I'm gonna create another Boolean variable called something like B underscore pressed. Or wait, instead of going with pressed, I might go with something like a Boolean variable of is RMB pressed. So I'm checking if my RMB is pressed, which initially it will not be pressed. PRESSED. And then I'm going to go with another Boolean of is B pressed if my B is currently being pressed. Initially, that is going to be set to false again. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a few Boolean functions. I won't really say it's called Boolean function. I'm just going to say regular functions. There we go. The first function is going to be a white function that checks if my, let's say, if RMB is being pressed, I'm going to go with RMB pressed with a parentheses ending with a semicolon. Another white function called something like RMB underscore release. Let's go with underscore release with a parentheses ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with another white function called something like B underscore pressed is my B being pressed with a parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'm going to go with another white function called something like B underscore release. Now, technically what this kind of means is that when my RMB pressed function is being executed, I want to set this Boolean variable to be set to true from false, and when it's being released, I want to set this back to false. The reason I just like created these empty white functions here is because the job of header files is just declaration. I want to just declare empty values or like empty content. Then later on, I'm going to define every single thing that I created here inside my C++ file. That is basically used for definitions. Okay, that's it. Let me just hop back up here. There we go. Just got to make sure everything goes good. Okay, perfect. Let me just get my OBS back here as well. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and let's say create another function called something like move function that now requires a constant parameter of a, let's say something like f input action value, okay, which is going to be represented, which would require the memory address of a values parameter ending with a semicolon. Then I'm going to go with another void function called something like look that again requires a constant parameter of a f input action value that requires the memory address of a values parameter ending with a semicolon. And then lastly, I'm going to require another void function for something like summon, because technically I'm going to go ahead and summon an object. Or basically a boss. Hold up guys, let me just drink some coffee. I think that my system might need some. Okay, maybe I'm just going to go ahead and open this part real quick. I think like there's no more sounds in the background, so I can just remove those Mobius from there. Okay guys, I gotta take that back. I feel like the coffee is kind of bitter. I should probably get back to drinking water instead of coffee. Okay, that's it. Let's see. Now that I'm done defining it, actually declaring everything in my C++ file, I'm gonna go ahead, actually in my header file, I'm gonna go ahead and Control S, save everything. And then now I'm gonna move on to firstly fixing my typo. This is going to be Spring Arm component. Okay, and then I'm gonna fix my typo here as well. This is gonna be something like Spring Arm component. Okay, now I hit Control S to save the code. Then let's hop on to my C++ file. Now in my C++ file, all these empty classes that I created here, I'm gonna include header files for every last one of this. I guess even input action, input mapping context to really give them definitions, if that makes any sense. For example, after I include my terms as header files, I'm gonna go ahead and include, let's go with something like from my camera component.h, which is basically my camera components as header files. And let me just get Mobius back here. There we go. And then once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say let's include something from my game framework. So from my game framework, I want to go ahead and include my Spring Arm components as header file component.h. Okay, so I'm going to include my Spring Arm components as header file, which now gives value to these two empty classes that I created here and use them for like no real reason up here. I mean, you guys do see the reason that I just included those files, so they basically have some kind of content to them now. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and include, let's go with something like include, let's say, I don't know, hold up guys, let me mute myself. Already mic testing. And guys, if I ever mute myself, that means there is some kind of background noises. That's it, so I'm gonna go with something like enhance inputs. I will be using enhance inputs. So I could include everything right now if I wanted, but I don't really wanna. I'm gonna include it when I need them. Okay, so now, hold up guys, let me mute myself real quick. Already mic testing. Guys, there was just some background noises. Okay, that's it. Let's see. So, what in my constructor, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say construct my camera component and my Spring Arm component. For example, let me just go ahead and get my chat back up here. There we go. Okay, so for example, I'm firstly gonna just back up there. There we go. I'm firstly gonna go with, let's say, I'm gonna create a default sub object for my camera boom. So I'm gonna go with something like camera boom, maybe in a line here. There we go. Let's go with something like a camera boom. There we go. Okay, which is going to be equal to the create default sub object. I'm going to go with sub objects as template. The reason I know it's a template because it has a pair of ankle braces here. Now inside my create default sub object, I'm going to go ahead and add let's say my Unreal's is should I say keyword, because technically my U, okay, so it's camera boom, right? So my U Spring Arm component, I'm assuming that's like a keyword, I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and paste that here. So I create a default sub object for my Spring Arm component inside of my Unreal Engine's editor. And then I'm gonna add a pair of parentheses, and then let's say add a text. What do I wanna call my Spring Arm component? Let's say I wanna call it something like, excuse me guys, let's say I wanna call it something like camera boom. I think that's pretty good, and then I'm gonna just end that with a semicolon. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go with something like my camera boom's as pointer, and let's say point it towards. I might go with something like, I don't know, maybe set up an attachment. So I want to go ahead and set up an attachment, okay, for my camera boom. Let's say my setup, hold up guys, let me fix my typo real quick. I'm gonna go with setup attachment, which in this case, it is gonna be my root component. If you guys don't really know what a root component is, with the help of my root component, I can go ahead and see or like visually see me actually moving, turning or rotating my object, which in this case is my camera boom. Without it, I would not be able to see my object move, turn or rotate, if that makes any sense. Okay, and then next up, I'm gonna go ahead and point my camera boom towards something else. Let's say I'm gonna go ahead and point it towards a target arm length. Since it is a camera boom, it's more like a selfie stick, I can go ahead and extend it further away as well. So I'm gonna go with something like target arm length. Alright guys, let's go with something like TARG arm length. Okay, now my target arm length is gonna be something like 200.f ending with a semicolon, which basically means my camera boom is going to be 200 centimeters away from my character. And then lastly, I'm gonna go with something like another camera boom. This is gonna be again my spring arm component, which points towards. I'm gonna go with something like a boolean check of use pawn control rotation. Now, basically what the pawn control rotation does, I'm gonna set it to be true. It lets me actually rotate or like control my rotation using my pawn. Pawn is actually not pawn, using my, I guess, mouse and all that stuff. I don't really know how to explain this properly to now. Use pawn control rotation. I'm assuming that it just lets me use my pawns as rotation. Okay, and then once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say create another default sub object for my follow camera, which is my camera component, because there are two things that I want to really construct on my Unreal Engine. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like create default sub object. Let's go with something like sub object. And guys, do let me know what stream should I have. Yes, tomorrow I am actually running from Blender. I might actually start asking you guys in community posts what stream should I have every single Tuesday, which is basically a day where I actually have a stream that is not really programming. So I might have like a Blender stream tomorrow, because I do eventually need to make a lot of meshes and I'm kind of awful at Blender type stuff. But then eventually I feel like I will start off by adding a few gaming streams and all that stuff too, just for a detox, because I feel like I need some detox too. That said, hold up guys, let me just go ahead and read my system and talk with something. Already mic testing. Guys, if you guys hear some background noise, just completely ignore it. Okay, that said, I'm gonna go with something like a U camera component. Did I not type it? I think I just typed it. Let's go with something like a U camera component, which I want to call it something like follow camera in my Unreal Engine's editor. So I'm gonna go with follow camera. Okay, and then let's go ahead and just end this with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and point my follow camera towards, let's say, a setup attachment. Exactly the same thing that I did for my camera boom. But this time, instead of having root component as a parameter, I want my camera boom to be as a parameter. So this does two things. It firstly attaches my follow camera to my camera boom. Secondly, it makes my follow camera the child of my camera boom, if that makes any sense. So my follow camera is going to be like indented inside of my actual camera boom in my details panel in Unreal Engine. Okay, so that's basically what it does. Lastly, I'm going to go with something like follow camera and point it towards the BUs. Let's go with something like pawn control rotation. The same thing that I added in my camera boom, but this time instead of true, I'm gonna go with something like false. And then let me just check for chats. Let's go there. There we go. Okay, and that's like right about it. Let me drink some water, I guess, because I am kind of thirsty. Hold up, guys. Let me mute myself while I drink. Already mic testing. Okay, perfect. So now once I'm done adding my I'm actually get my camera a bit lower because I feel like there we go, because sometimes I feel like I need to like talk way too loud for it. Okay, that's it. So once I'm done actually adding my constructor here, what is something else that I might need? Maybe inside my begin play, since I am actually using my enhanced inputs, which I did not include till now, so let's go ahead and include that. I'm going to go with something like hashtag include. Let's go with enhanced e. Alright guys, I'm going to go with enhanced input subsystems. I think I spelled it wrong. enhanced input. Okay, so I'm gonna go with enhanced input subsystem. Let's go with sub systms dot h. So I'm gonna include my enhanced input subsystems header files. I do need that for like actually getting my local players a subsystem. I really don't know what that does till now, but I actually know what it does, but I don't think I know how to explain that part till now. Okay, that said, let me just go ahead and just shrink this up real quick. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna add an if statement here to firstly get my players as controller. Before I actually add an if statement, I'm gonna go with something like a player controller, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like PC. That is going to be equal to. I'm gonna go with cast. Now the reason we really cast is to like let's see, to check if the player controller that I'm actually having right now is the player controller that I'm looking for. So it's basically like a filter. Okay, so I'm gonna go with, excuse me guys, a cast in which I'm gonna have something like player controller. And the other reason could also be because there could be many a player controllers, because I could have potentially more than one characters in a program. So I want to check if it's this exact Tom's character, this controller that I'm really having. Okay, and then I'm gonna add a parentheses and go with something like controller. Let's go with controller. Then I add it with a semicolon. Now I'm gonna add an if statement to check something. I'm gonna check if my player controller, so I'm gonna go with if player controller, okay, is equal to, alright guys, let's go with something like if my player controller is not equal to null PDR. So if my player controller did not return null and it does have some kind of value to it, then I'm gonna do something. Firstly, let's say I'm gonna go ahead and add another if statement here to check if my U enhanced I think it should be enhanced. So enhanced. So if my U enhanced input local player subsystem playercbsystem. Okay, so if my U enhanced input local player subsystem, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like subsystem. Okay, did I spell it wrong? enhanced input local player subsystem. I think I spelled it correct. I spelled something wrong here. enhanced input. Okay, enhanced input subsystem or enhanced. Okay, should I not have input here? Enhanced subsystem. Let's go with into lessons. Okay, so let's go with something like delete this into lessons. I'm gonna go with something like enhanced enhanced input subsystems. There, I think that should be correct. Now I should be able to use my U enhanced input local player subsystem here. Okay, yeah, I think that was good. There we go. Okay, so okay, wait, where am I messing up here? So it's enhanced input, so enhanced input components, enhanced input subsystems.h. I'm positive I shouldn't go with U because this is not like unfilled. This is just the header file that I'm talking about. So enhanced enhanced input subsystem systems.h. It's correct. Let's see. Okay, maybe I'm gonna go with Control Alt L, get my details panel here. I'm gonna, let's say, go over my project name, which is dodge the enemy. There we go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and extend that. I'm gonna go with something like source, extend that as well. I'm gonna find my build.cs file real quick. Hold up, guys. Okay, there we go, my .the enemy build.cs file. Okay, it does not have enhanced input here, so I'm gonna go with something like comma. And then let's go with into lessons and add something like wait, is it just me or okay, I'm gonna go with something like enhanced enhanced inputs. Alright, so is that correct? I think it's correct. I'm gonna hit Control S to save the code. Now I should be able to use my enhanced inputs here. Once I go ahead and exit this, I'm gonna first go ahead and save everything. There we go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and let's say open my Solution Explorer here. I learned this yesterday. I'm gonna open my documents, go to Unreal Engine, gonna go to something like dodge the enemy. I'm gonna right click my U project here. Okay, I don't think it's U project. I think it's something like my config source. I don't think it's source. I think it was something like, maybe it might be my U project. I'm gonna go with something like open with. There's compress. There's share with, so it's not this. But if I go with config here, there should be something like generate. Okay, I'm gonna go here. Let's see, open with Microsoft. Okay, hold up, guys. Let me just go ahead and just try figuring this part out. Wait, I think I closed that part. Okay, wait, hold up, guys. Give me a sec. Let me just go ahead and change something real quick. So, I have config. It's not config. I have VS. I have binaries. I have intermediate saved source. Where's my the project? So I know if I right click something, for example, I right click this and then I go with something like open. It's not open. Okay, there was something like generate. I had to like generate something. I forgot which. Oh, show more options there. Okay, so it's give access. I think it was the U project. If I were to go with show options, there we go. Generate Visual Studio project files. This saves my build.css content that I really added. Okay, so it's a generating project files. While it's generating it, I might drink some water. What up, guys? Kind of thirsty. And I just realized, is my camera really close to my face? Because I might get it a bit farther away. Let's just go ahead and extend that. There we go. Hold up, guys. I think I might want to go a bit back. There we go. I think that's much better. Okay, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and open my Visual Studio now. Let's go with something like dodge the enemy. I think it should work now. Gonna get that here, delete this. Okay, it's preparing solutions in my Tom's header files. Did I not save my C++ really? I'm positive I saved everything. There we go. Enhance input saved. Apparently my content in my header file was not saved. Should have saved that. Okay, let me just quickly speed run this part. So I'm gonna go with let's wait for the lag to go, because when the program starts it does kind of crash. Is my stream lagging? Seriously? Hey bro, how you doing, Opta? Appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, let's go with something like hashtag include. All lowercase. And guys, if I am kind of not energetic today, it is because I just came from college and I got some assignments to do, so I'm thinking about that while I do this stuff. Okay, let's go with something like include a parentheses. Let's say I'm gonna go ahead and include something from my game framework. So from my game framework, I want to go ahead and include my Spring ARM component .h, and then I'm gonna go ahead and include something else as well. Why did I write it? Like, there we go. Let's include something from my camera. Let's go with camera / camera component.h. Okay, and guys, if I write this part quickly without explaining, it's because I already explained this part once. I'm gonna go with something like enhance input subsystems.h, and then I'm just quickly gonna go ahead and go with camera boom, which is going to be equal to a create default sub objects template, which requires a parameter of my U camera U Spring ARM component, U Spring Spring ARM component. Okay, and then I want to go ahead and call this something like camera boom. There we go. Guys, if I'm like kind of speed running this part, it's because I already explained it. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and check something. It's camera / camera. I spelled component wrong. It's component. So I'm gonna go with camera component. And then en, I spelled enhanced wrong as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. It's gonna be enhanced. Enhance input subsystems as header files. And now that's correct. Then I'm gonna go with something like camera boom that points towards. I'm gonna go with something like maybe set up attachment. I'm gonna go ahead and set up an attachment attachment with a parenthesis that requires a parameter of a root component. Okay, and then end that with a semicolon as well. And then thirdly, I'm gonna go with something like a camera boom that points towards. On this, I'm gonna go with something like a target arm length. Just after I fix my typo here, let's go with something like a root component. Okay, and then this is going to be my target arm length, TARGTARMLENGTH. That is going to be equal to something like 200.f, which means my target arm length is going to be 200. centimeters away from my character. Then I'm gonna go with another camera boom that points towards a Boolean check of use pawn control rotation, which lets me use my pawns as controlled rotation. So I actually don't have sloppy rotation, I have like better rotation. Fact check me on this part though. Okay, use pawn CONTROLROTATION. Let me fix my rotation spelling real quick. Okay, and then once I'm done with this, I'm quickly gonna go ahead and move on to my follow camera. So I'm gonna go with something like follow camera. That is gonna be equal to a create default sub object with a pair of ankle braces that requires my U camera component inside the pair of ankle braces. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add a text. What do I wanna go ahead and call my follow camera in my Unreal Engine's details panel? I wanna call it follow camera. There. Once I'm done with that as well, I'm gonna go with something like follow camera. My pointer points towards a setup attachment in which I'm gonna add a pair of parentheses and add a parameter of my camera boom. I want my spring arm component. I want my camera component to be a child of my spring arm component. Once I'm done with that as well, lastly, I'm gonna go with something like follow camera that points towards. I'm gonna go with something like a Boolean variable of use pawn control rotation. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and assign it to be false, ending with a semicolon. Finally, once I'm done with that part, I'm gonna go under my begin play and get my players as controller. I'm gonna go with something like a player controller. Okay, which is going to be represented by pointer called something like PC. That is going to be equal to cast. The reason I cast it is to check whatchamacallit. It's to check which player controller am I talking about, because in one program I could have more than one characters, more than one actors, more than one pawns. This is like a filter that checks only if the player controller that has been initiated through my pawns' character class is going to be accepted for this content here. There we go. Whoops, this is going to be requiring a pair of parentheses. And then controller. Okay, then end this with a semicolon. Next, I'm gonna go with something like if my player controller is not equal to a null PDR. If my player controller did not return null, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna add a nullative statement to check if my uEnhanced, ENHANCED, if my uEnhanced inputs local player subsystem, if my uEnhanced input local player subsystem, okay, which is going to be represented by pointer called something like subsystem, is equal to, I'm going to go with a cast again, which is practically like a filter, which is equal to, I'm going to go with something like cast, and then inside the cast, I'm going to add my uEnhanced input local player subsystem. Okay, and then I'm going to add a pair of parentheses of something like, maybe I'm going to go with player controller that points towards the get control rotation. Let's go with get control rotation. Actually, instead of cast, hold up guys, I went way too quick with this part. Instead of cast, I'm going to go with view local player. Okay, let's go with something like view local player with a scope resolution operator that points towards the get subsystem. Let's go with get subsystem. Okay, perfect. Then I'm going to go with something like get player rotation. So this is going to be something like get player rotation. Okay, and that's about it. Or I think it's like get rotation, right? Let's delete that, go into lessons. I'm going to go with something like get rotation. Okay, I'm positive it's rotation. Not client rotation. Player controller gets control rotation. Let's think. So, or get, I think it's like get local player. Let's go with something like get local player. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my local player, use this function. Once I'm done with this function, I'm gonna add a pair of curly braces. Now, inside my pair of curly braces, what am I gonna go ahead and do? First, I'm gonna go here, add a pair of braces. There we go. Now, what am I gonna do inside a pair of curly braces? Let's say the subsystem that I created up here, I'm gonna go ahead and use that here. My subsystem's pointer is gonna go ahead and point towards a add mapping context. Let's go with add mapping context with a pair of parentheses, which requires two parameters. The first is gonna be, let's go to my header files. It's going to be my input mapping context, which I don't think I create a U property for. So I might create a U property for it. I'm going to call it something like default mapping. Guys, ignore the red underlines, it's just my editor kind of tweaking. There we go. So I'm going to go with something like a U property, property, which I want to be able to edit it anywhere. I want it to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read this. Lastly, my category is going to be equal to something like input, because technically input mapping context is like an input. Okay, and then I'm going to go with something like AU input mapping context. Alright guys, let's go with mapping context. That is going to be represented by pointer, called something like default mapping. There. And then I ended with a semicolon. Now the parameters that I'm going to be requiring here, first, it's going to be my default mapping. And second is going to be 0. 0 is my priority. And I think that's pretty much it. Why do I actually have expected approach parentheses? I think I need to add approach parentheses here. There we go. And then add mapping context. U enhance simple local player subsystem has no member of add mapping context. Now, the reason I can't use this could be because I gotta go ahead and include another header file for my, let's say something like enhanced input component.h, which is my enhanced input components and header files. There, I can out of a sudden magically use it, guys. Alright, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and drink some water because I think I'm kind of thirsty. Alright guys, give me a sec. Okay, and then let's just go ahead and close this real quick. Okay, wait, I still can't use it. Add mappingcon. Oh, I spelled context wrong. Guys, beware of typos. On there. Okay, now once I'm done with all this, I'm gonna go ahead and move outside of my parentheses here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just get my chair a bit in front. There we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment that says something like RMB function. I'm gonna go ahead and define the function that I've declared in my header files. So I'm gonna go with something like RMB function. And guys, again, this is just for me adding movement that I did. Here's the thing, this is very easy to write that I don't even think it's worth it to write, because I could just use, these are the things that we should actually use AI, and that's gonna save us so much time because this code is pretty easy and I know what happened to this code. So I could use AI, but unfortunately I actually started writing it, so I don't really want to move. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like a white function. Let's say something like from my ATOMSys class, I'm gonna use a scope resolution operator to point somewhere towards my RMB underscore press function with a prof parentheses and then a prof curly braces. Now, when my RMB, my right mouse button has been pressed, I'm gonna set my boolean variable of is RMB pressed to be equal to something like true, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to get my players as controllers. I'm going to go with something like a player just to save some time. I'm going to copy that. There. And then paste it here. So I get my players as controller here. I'm going to add a statement to check if my player controller is not equal to null. PDR if it's not a null pointer, if it's not an empty pointer. Then I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to add a pair of curly braces and let's say I'm gonna go ahead and point my player controller towards a boolean variable of show a mouse cursor, and I'm gonna go ahead and set that equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Whenever I'm moving my player or rotating my player around, I don't want my mouse cursor to be visible. In the other hand, I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this again to save time because this code is like really easy and I don't want to type it, to be honest. I'm gonna go with something like released. Guess I can just remove pressed. There, I'm gonna just change that to false and that to true. And that's about it. Once I'm done with this, I'm gonna add another comment. This is gonna be for my move action. I'm gonna work on moving my player using key controls. B to the top, blah blah blah. I think this is my editor kind of tweaking here, so I will ignore it for the time being. Okay, now for my move function, I'm firstly going to go with something like a white function from my ATOMSys class. I'm going to go with something like void ATOMSys class, which is going to use a scope resolution operator to point towards my move function that requires a parameter. Now it requires a let's spell enhance. I think I spelled enhance wrong. Let's go with ENHANCT. There. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. Since my move function requires a parameter of, let's see, of a f input action value, my f input action value is basically the structure, the empty structure that I declared here called f input action value. I'm gonna have to include a header to give it some kind of value. So I'm gonna go with something like hashtag include. I want to include input action value.h, which is my input action values as header files. Now I can go ahead and have access to those parameters. Constant f input action value that is going to be requiring, let's say, memory address of a values as parameter. Then I go with the pair of curly braces. Now inside a move function, there's something that I'm going to go ahead and need. Now here's the three key steps if you want to actually move your player. I would be needing a scale value. Am I moving positive direction or negative direction? I would be needing a world direction. Which way am I moving? Am I moving towards the left, towards the right, forward, or backwards? And a rotation. So am I turning properly type stuff? Am I like rotating properly type stuff? For that, first I'm gonna add a comment and go with something like a scale value. For my scale value, I'm gonna go ahead and use a f vector to D's structure, which is going to be represented by a local variable called something like movement vector. Now, why did I choose f vector 2D and like not a regular f vector? Because I'm actually gonna only move my player in either the x-axis or the y-axis and not the z-axis. If I just use f vector, that gives me a 3D vector, so I can store 3D values in it, but I just want to store 2D, so I'm going to go with f vector. Okay, which is going to be equal to my value dot the get. So I'm going to go with my values as parameter dot the get sys template that requires, let's say, my f vector 2D in it, vector 2D. Then I'm going to go with the pair of parentheses, ending with a semicolon. Now that I've got my scale value, I'm going to get my rotation. For my rotation, I'm going to go with something like a f rotator. Alright guys, let's go with f rotator. There we go. Alright guys, let's go with f rotator. Okay, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like, I think I might go with something like rotation. I might go with something like rotation. There. That is going to be equal to, let's see. Okay, what do I want my rotation to be equal to? I'm gonna go ahead and set it equal to, guys, let me think this part real quick. So, okay, I might set it equal to something like my player controller or my controller. This is get control rotation. I want to get my control rotation, and then I'm gonna end this with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to go with another f rotator. Let's go with FROTATOR, which is going to be represented by this time a local function called something like yaw rotation that requires 3 parameters. It requires the x, y, and z parameter. I want to kind of flatten out my 3D surface to be like a 2-dimensional surface. So I'm going to go with 0. I'm going to go with my rotation.yaw. And then I'm going to go with 0, ending with a semicolon. The reason it's 3 is because we have x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. In this case, x-axis is 0. Y-axis is actually my y-axis is 0. X-axis is my yaw, and my z-axis is my roll. So there is yaw, pitch, and roll. Y-axis is pitch. Okay, x-axis is yaw, and z-axis is roll. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get my world direction. Again, basically what a world direction is it like gets which way my character is actually facing. Is it forward, backwards, towards the left, or towards the right? To get my world direction, this time I'm going to be using just an f vector. That is technically a 3-dimensional vector, not like a 2-dimensional vector, where my f vector is going to be represented by a local variable called something like forward direction. This is going to be me facing forwards. That is going to be equal to, I'm going to go with something like f or rotation matrix. I'm going to use a rotation matrix's function that requires a, let's say, parameter. Should I go with parameter? I don't know. Of something like my yaw rotation. Okay. dot the get unit axis. I'm gonna go ahead and get. Alright, guys, let's go with something like get unit axis. Unit axis with the parentheses, my e axis is gonna be x axis, ending with a semicolon. Then I'm gonna go ahead and copy this part. I'm gonna go ahead and just paste it down here. Just change the x-axis to be y-axis and change my forward vector to be by forward direction to be right direction. Okay, perfect. Now once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and add another comment that says something like add a movement input. And this is basically right about it, to be honest. For my add movement input, I'm going to use my add movement inputs as function. Let's go with movement, M-O-V-E-M-E-N-T, inputs as function. That now requires, let's say, a parameter of the two main things that I need in my world direction and my scale value. I did like create both of them. So I'm going to go with something like my world direction. That is going to be my forward vector, F-O-R-W-A-R-D vector, F-O-R-W-A-R-D. There, and then my scale value, which is going to be my movement vector. Okay, let's go with something like movement vector dot let's say something like y, because moving forward or backwards is technically me moving in the y-axis, and moving towards the left or right is me moving in the x-axis. Next up, I'm going to go with another add movement input. Okay, let's go with something like input, which requires a parameter of my right direction, and my scale value is going to be my movement vector dot y. Did I just go with move vector? Let's go with something like M-O-V-E-M-E-N-T vector dot y. Actually dot x. And then I end it with a semicolon. That's about it for my move function. Now let's quickly move on to my look function. So I'm going to go with something like another comment called something like look function. And guys, I just realized that once I'm done with this, I might actually move on learning my actual enemy logic, maybe next stream, not next stream, the stream after it, because next stream, which is tomorrow, that is going to be like a special stream because it's Tuesday and I do something that is not actually programming. So I'm going to go with look action, because I still do have some of my college assignments that I got to complete today. That's the reason I'm constantly looking at the time, because I do have something to do as well. Okay, so I'm going to go with something like, let's see, look action. I'm going to go with something like y. Okay, let's say something like from my Thompson's class, I'm going to use the scope resolution operator to point towards my look function that now requires a constant parameter of a f input action value that requires the memory address of value. And then I'm going to go with the row of curly braces. Now inside my look action, I'm going to go ahead and firstly, this is going to be very important. I mean, I might need a scale value first. The very important part is going to come after this. Let's go with something like a scale value. SC. There. And just to save time, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this because scale value is literally exactly the same as this. There we go. And I'm going to fix my typo. This is going to be value. Okay, and I'm going to call this something like right. Maybe a look vector. I think that sounds kind of appropriate. There. And then once I'm done with this, I'm going to go down here. Now, this is important. I'm going to add an if statement to check if my Boolean variable of is RMB pressed. If and only if my RMB is currently being pressed downwards, then I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to go ahead and let's say move my or turn my player around. So I'm going to go with something like, so let's see, my add a movement, or maybe I'm going to go with add controller. Let's go with add controller because my mouse is basically a controller. Your input is in charge of moving in the x-axis, so I'm going to go ahead and require a scale value of my look vector dot the x-axis, vector dot x, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. And then let's add another controller, so I'm going to go with add controller. This time I'm going to go with something like pitch input, which requires again a look vector. I'm going to go with look vectors as y-axis, ending with a semicolon. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to hit Control S to save the code now. Lastly, I'm going to bind everything. Let's bind them real quick. So I'm going to firstly bind my move action. Let's go with bind move action, in which I'm going to go ahead and let's say add an if statement. Okay, that checks something. I'm going to go with something like if my U enhanced input component, which is going to be represented by a pointer of EIC. Let's go with something like representative pointer of EIC. And I think I spelled enhance wrong. That's going to be ENHANCED. 1, 2, 3. There. Okay, if that is equal to cast checked with a prof ankle braces of, let's copy my U enhance input component here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and paste it here. Whoops, I just need to copy this. There we go. Then I'm gonna go ahead and paste it here. I'm gonna go with the prof parentheses and let's say add my controller. Actually, my player input component. There. And then I'm gonna add a prof curly braces. This is going to be cast checked CAST. There. Let's go with something like cast checked. Alright. Okay, once I'm done with this, what is the next thing I might need? Let's think. So I'm gonna first add a comment that says something like bind move action. I'm gonna go with something like bind move action. And hold up guys, let me just go ahead and do something real quick. Give me a sec guys, let me just go ahead and get a message. Let's say something like wait, okay, perfect. Okay, I think I just had to like set a part in text real quick there, because I didn't like realize that it is like, because I got like whatchamacallit assignment due today, so just have like a group that I'm actually talking to. Okay, let's go with something like bind move action. For my move action, I'm gonna go with something like my enhanced input component that points to words. I'm gonna go with something like a bind actions function that requires a parameter of my action name. In this case, it's gonna be my move action. Okay, and then I'm gonna go and require parameter of a trigger type. So I'm gonna go with something like a e-trigger event. Alright guys, let's go with something like a e-trigger TRIGGR event, which is gonna be, let's say something like triggered. If my move action has been triggered on this object, then I wanna do what the memory address of this function tells me to do. The function is gonna be moved, ending with a semicolon. And then next I'm going to go with an enhanced input component again that points towards another bind action, which is going to be this time my look action. Okay, that is going to be having a e-trigger event as well. Okay, with let's say scope resolution operator EVENT of let's say something like triggered on this object. I want to do what this function tells me to do. And guys, the reason I am like rushing right now is because I like actually gotta go. I got like assignment due today. Okay, and then next time we're going to go with another enhanced input component that points towards a bind action. This time I'm going to go for my RMB action. And that is the reason why I'm not really adding comments right now, because I'm in like a very big, like a really, I'm really in a big rush right now. Okay, I'm going to go with something like RMB action. Let's go with RMB action. And then e-trigger type, I'm going to go with something like e-trigger event, which is going to be started this time. So if my right mouse button has been started on this object, I'm gonna do what this function tells me to do. I'm gonna do what the memory address from my 8 times classes, let's say something like RMB underscore pressed function tells me to do. Hi King, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Let's go with something like RMB underscore pressed. Okay, and guys, I will explain this later on next stream maybe, or like whenever I have like enough time to explain everything slowly in detail. For now, I feel like I just want to complete this section, and I'm going to work on the next section next time I do it in my next stream where I actually do Unreal Engine. That's it. Next I'm going to go with another bind action for my RMB action, because notice that RMB action did have two different stages. The first is when it's being pushed down, the second when it's not being pushed down. Let's work on the not being pushed down part here. Okay, so I'm gonna go with another e-trigger event. Let's go with e-trigger event, which is going to be something like completed. If my trigger event on this object has been completed, I want to do what this function tells me that I want to do what the RMB underscore released function tells me to do. Then I just go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay, this is going to be atom. There. Okay, I think that's pretty much it, right? No, there's one more. There was a summon action, but I won't need that for now. Okay, I'm gonna quickly go ahead and open my Unreal Engine through my, let's just go ahead and close my window from here. There, I'm gonna open my Unreal Engine through my Visual Studio real quick and just run the code. I mean, it does work, it would like work. I'm just like kind of rushing up right now. Okay, this is my Unreal Engine. I'm gonna go ahead and go to my project. I'm gonna go with something like dodge the enemy project. Go ahead and just open that up. Okay, let's wait for it to open real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and grab it here. Okay, let's just wait for it to open real quick. I think it's almost open. There we go. There, I'm gonna go ahead and click that and then extend it from the bottom. Now I'm gonna go to something like content, double click my map, and then let's hit something before I hit Control Alt. Actually, I might hit Control Alt F11 real quick. Even though this kind of does like compile the entire code before I giving it once I start the program. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like my content drawer, go to C/C++ classes, go ahead and drop my Thompson's class here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add a static mesh to it. So I'm gonna add a component. Let's go with something like static mesh. Whoops. Okay, I guess I'll go with something like yes. Let me go ahead and add a static mesh. Didn't I not drop my class? I'm positive I dropped it. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and add a static mesh. STATIC. I'm gonna go with static mesh here. Let's go with something like common NPC. Gonna add that here. And I'm gonna leave the third point. I shouldn't rush that much that I kind of messed the program up. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move myself here. I'm gonna go with something like E, rotate myself 90 degrees. Okay, and then hit W, get myself a bit in front. That should be good. I'm not gonna work too much on the styling right now because I will be doing that next stream. Okay, and then once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go with something like possess, POSS. For my Tom, I'm gonna go to my Tom's instance and then kind of possess it. This is gonna be 0, and then I'm gonna type something like input and just kind of link my inputs. Default mapping is gonna be IMC default, move action is gonna be IA underscore move, look action is gonna be IA underscore look, RMB action is gonna be IA underscore RMB. And I do have one for summon action. There. I didn't work on my summoning logic just yet, but that's fine. Now I'm gonna go ahead and run the code real quick. And I should be able to move around. Guys, kinda ignore this thing if I WASD. Okay, can move forward and backwards. Gotta fix that part real quick. I'm gonna go with IMC defaults. I have I underscore move WASD. Swiss input action value, right? Okay. Might be something in my code. Let's go back to my code real quick. So basically, in my code I have x-axis, y-axis. I think the code is correct. The thing that I might be messing up on here could be my camera's angle. So I'm gonna go with my camera. I'm gonna just kind of move my camera towards the back. Hold up guys, let me just go ahead and scroll all the way down till I find my follow camera. Gonna get him a bit towards the front, towards the back. Gonna hit something like R. Actually E, get myself a bit lower. Now let's run the code. Why did I move so quick? I can't even move forward and backwards. I go like very, very fast. Okay, why could it be that I go really fast? Did I mess something up to go fast? Okay, so I have my add control rotation. I have X, I have Y, and then I've got X-axis here. I've got Y-axis there. Forward direction, movement vector, right direction, movement vector. I mean, I think it's correct. Move action, trigger this thumb. Bind action, blah blah blah. RMB action start completed. Okay, I don't think I'm messing something up here, am I? I have 2D vector, I have all that stuff. Okay, maybe I'm not messing anything up here. I think it's just a tiny whatchamacallit. I think it's just a tiny mistake that I'm making. I gotta like kind of pay more attention on that stuff. But for now, let me see what is that tiny mistake that I'm making. In my IMC default, I have RMB action, I have look action, I have move action, where I move using key controls, WASD. Okay, does this have Swiss input axis? Okay, Swiss input axis value. Does this have Swiss input axis value? Okay, I mean both does have a Swiss input axis value. Okay, maybe could it be that I just did not compile it properly? Okay, let me just get myself in the capsule real quick, but I move really quick towards the left or right. Let me go ahead and click my static mesh. I'm going to kind of get it inside my capsule here. Okay guys, this is why I do not like to kind of rush code. The reason I'm rush coding today is because I got like some kind of stuff to do. There. I'm going to hit Control Alt F11 real quick to compile my code. Okay, let's wait for this to compile. There we go. And then let's go ahead and run the program. Why do I turn so quick? Okay guys, there are some small issues here. I did not think I might have time to fix it today. So I might work on it next stream, but why is it that I can't? I know that I'm making a very silly and easy mistake here. Okay, so get unit axis, d-axis is x-axis, right direction. Okay, so I have my look vector, right direction, movement vector dot x-axis. Okay, I mean I'll actually figure this part out tomorrow because I do like gotta go right now. Okay, F rotation matrix. Okay, why do I have a okay, I do need a rotation matrix here. So okay, I mean I could actually do it next stream, so I'll actually kind of work on this next time I stream Unreal Engine, which is going to be like this Wednesday. Let's save all real quick, because I didn't like try rushing this part today. That's the reason I made a silly mistake most likely, but I'm probably not going to make the same exact mistake next stream. So I still want to kind of figure it out, but I'm kind of out of time right now to figure it out. Press release move function. Okay, I mean I'm pretty sure it's a really silly mistake. Okay, that's it. Let's go to my main camera. There we go. Alright guys, so basically that was pretty much it for the stream. I did want to actually stream for longer, but honestly I did not have much time. Tomorrow I might have a Blender stream where I will be making meshes for like my upcoming different series and all that stuff, because guys I feel like I'm really horrible making meshes. That said, if you guys enjoyed the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, like, helps my algorithm, share, makes it smart, and subscribing to your channel. That's it. I just on what I stream on Twitch, YouTube, and will send what I stream on TikTok and Instagram as well. So if you guys haven't followed me there, make sure to follow me there. The link is going to be in the description, and also join your Discord server. That's why we talk to you guys, chat with you guys, have general conversations. That's it. You guys can get access to my Discord server through the link in the description, through my bio, or by typing exclamation Discord on chat. And I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace. Guys, I actually feel like it's kind of awful to like stream really quick.